So again, my name is Robert Peoples, and I'm the founder and president of Affinis Humanity. For those that don't know the meaning of the word affinis, it is the Latin derivative of the English word affinity, which means a natural attraction to a person, thing, or idea. And my attraction is to humanity. And by the way, I am an atheist. I am the first atheist in my family. I appreciate you. For a little backdrop story behind that, it wasn't out of emotion. You know, I know a lot of individuals, they depart from church because they have an issue with their pastor, a minister, a bishop. But for me, it was just based on information. My cousin introduced me to the book by Thomas Paine, The Age of Reason, at the age of 13. And that changed my life. It created the trajectory that I'm currently on now. I want to thank the new executive director, Janine Castine, for inviting me to speak today. And as a former board member of the Secular Coalition for Arizona, I am still impressed with the veracity of you guys attacking discriminative bills in this beautiful state. So kudos to you for that. I want to start this conversation off by recollecting a narrative I had with my grandfather some years ago. He was a religious man. He wasn't overtly religious, but he believed in God. And he said to me as a teenager, he said, you know, sometimes when I pray to God, his responses are very slow and at times non-responsive at all. Then he said with a smile, if you ever want to get anything done, ask an atheist. So in Latin, the summum bonum means the highest good, the ultimate good. I juxtapose this notion with secularism as an antidote for societal religiosity. As Americans, we have cherry-picked factions of self-interest from the US Constitution. We absorb and pride ourselves in the Second Amendment, and sure, we do have the right to bear arms. But as an American, do I possess the right to self-defense? Is it not my right to protect myself from the proselytization of Christian nationalism? How is it that we are on the verge of an Atwoodian dystopia in this country? Former US Representative James Walter Wise once said, when fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in a flag and carrying a cross. Truer words have never been spoken. Many of my constituents have asked me how I personally navigate my moral compass when it comes to my morality. However, this idea assumes religion encompasses the most sacred morality. Propagandist spiritual marketing will have us believe this concept, but a closer critique discloses the data just doesn't add up. What does Christian fundamentalism say about my hue, about the complexion of my skin, my ethnicity? A meta-analysis of past research, Deborah Hall of ASU, among two other sociologists, assessed the relationship between religiosity and racism in the United States since the Civil Rights Act. What they found was a strong correlation between racism and religion. Now, we do know that there is a differentiation between causation and correlation. However, a strong correlation exists nevertheless. Another peer-reviewed study exemplifies the same information. Robert P. Jones, CEO of Public Religion Research Institute, a Christian by the way, found in his research that white Christians, including evangelical Protestants, mainline Protestants, and Catholics, are nearly twice as likely as religious unaffiliated whites to say that killings of black men by police are isolated incidents rather than a pattern of police treatment of African Americans. He goes on to say this disparity in attitudes about systemic racism between white Christians and whites who claim no religious affiliation is important evidence that the common and catalyzing denominator is religious identity. It appears the more religious you are, the greater the propensity of racism exercised. Yet Christian fundamentalists are the epitome of morality. In 2015, the Supreme Court decision in their Obergefell v. Hodges created a landmark 5-4 decision, making marriage equality legal in all 50 states. You think that humanity, yes, absolutely, absolutely. You would think that humanity should possess the freedom to love one another no matter one's gender. However, truth is stranger than fiction. Research out of Texas A&M shows being religious and being homophobic are significantly correlated. The stronger your faith and church attendance, the more likely you are to oppose gay rights, gay marriage, etc. The peer-reviewed study stated, "We conclude by suggesting the differences in religious affiliation dramatically affects attitudes towards homosexuality." Now, what about our children? What do Christian fundamentalists say about their child choosing who they love? As a former social worker, I have seen children as young as 12 years old being thrown out of the house like a heap of dry leaves because of their sexual orientation. And what happens when you're homeless and you're 12, 13, 14 years old? Well, you have to eat. And how do you eat? They go through methodologies of sexual exploitation. They become prostitutes in the street, having sex for money, and then the cycle begins. In order to deal with the psychological trauma of that, they now have to get on drugs. And it becomes a vicious, continuing cycle. The Williams Institute of Law at UCLA cited LGBTQ youth comprise up to 40% of the total homeless youth population, even though they only make 10% of the overall youth population. Let me repeat that again. The LGBTQ youth comprise up to 40% of the total homeless youth population, although only 10% of the overall youth population. And the number one reason for homelessness of the LGBTQ youth is family rejection based on religious affiliation. That is the number one reason. Even our children are not safe from the wrath of the divine and tenets of its religiosity. Yet, Christian fundamentalists are the epitome of morality. I will make a bold claim here, and it will be unpopular within evangelical circles. Women are my equal. They possess all the rights I have, plus one, and that's the right to be protected. Happy Women's History Month, and I say this begrudgingly, because their inalienable right to bodily autonomy is in jeopardy. Christian nationalism views a woman's body as a mere vessel for procreation with an attempt to politicize her womb through theocratic measures. Several states, including this one, Arizona, are strategizing an existential threat to Roe v. Wade. However, it's just not abortion that they're after. They're also after contraception as well. Ever since the Affordable Care Act was signed into law into 2015 by former President Obama, Republicans have attempted to eradicate birth control pills for women. But that's not even the worst of it. In Arizona, not only would Senate Bill 1164 prohibit abortions after 15 weeks, although only viability is reached in 24 weeks, not only would it put doctors who violate the law behind bars, but it makes no exceptions for victims of rape or incest. What's an oxymoron about the fervor of Christian nationalist pro-life stance is that researchers from the Christian research group Lifeway found that roughly 70% of women who had abortions self-identified as Christians. In a survey sponsored by the Pregnancy Center support organization CareNet. And they also found that the least religious women are, the least amount of abortions they have. Interesting fact. As a Republican Senate candidate in Indiana once said, I won't mention his name, when life begins with that terrible situation of rape, that is something that God intended to happen. This is the personalities that we're dealing with in office today. Yet Christian fundamentalism is an epitome of morality. If we want to dismantle these egregious acts against African Americans, women, and our LGBTQ youth in the name of religion, we must declare it an act of violence. Yes. Yes. We can no longer afford to be silently complicit about our energies to remove the seat of power from Christian nationalists. And let me just say this, America is the only nation on earth to ever be founded on a secular constitution. Let's keep it that way. Thank you.